Hello all, welcome to Tech with SAS. In this video, we will solve a design question that you might face in your next interview, right? That is basically the how to design ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT has many things behind, like how a model is trained, how it is used, right? But from a system point of view, right? So what are the various aspects you have to take care? So in case you encounter this question into your interview time, right? So how do we approach it, right? So first approach for any question for designing, right? So we have to first gather the what are the requirements functionally, right? So I mean everybody has used ChatGPT, and you are quite aware. The requirement are pretty simple and straightforward, right? So maybe on device side, and device can be anything because ChatGPT is also mobile, right? So whether it is a mobile device or it is a desktop, right? So user should be able to ask a question, right, in a prompt. So if any question user want to ask, they should have a prompt. So first requirement is a very basic requirement that says that user is able to ask questions on the prompt, right? And now once a user is interacting with the chat gpt for multiple conversations, right, so we have to also preserve them, right, so that user can go back, browse them later, right, to refer them the answers as well. So now here you can debate about it with the interviewer that how many messages he or she want to preserve, right? So maybe you can take a ballpark figure, okay, whether 50 or 100 you want to preserve it. So once that number is crossed, right, you can archive the oldest one. Okay. So and now suppose user want to delete any question which they've asked in the past, right? So there should be also some facility that user is able to delete that is question response or even question and answer from that prompt, right? And now these are very basic requirement, right? So that user is able to ask questions in the prompt, and also browse the previous history of the conversations which were done, right? And then whenever a response is received by a user and user is able to understand it, then as per their requirement, right, whether the response is best for purpose for their purpose, right, or maybe they're happy with that, so maybe as a feedback to the model, right, we can have a maybe some rating to the response, whether it might be a thumbs up or thumb down type of thing. So that by that we can define our response quality as well and improve upon, because model is right always training mode. So maybe if something is not proper response, then we can update it later as well, right? So that's the whole requirements, right? So now requirement, right, requirement here I have just put in beforehand, so that don't have to type these in the video to save time. But during interview, right, you have to talk to the interviewer a lot, because there can be many requirement, right, but which requirements he or she want to focus, you to first jot them down. And basic one are definitely they have to be there for sure, but maybe some of the requirement they want to focus, you can ask them, right? So now once we have captured the requirement which are functionally important for chat gpt, next is the thing is that what are the function the requirement, right, they're non-functional and important, right? So now when user ask a question, right, so they expect an answer within some time frame, right? So now that is negotiable between you and interviewer, right, whether they want a very prompt response maybe in less than 10 seconds, or maybe if there are some complex queries, whether we can show some kind of waiting on the prompt, okay, that ChatGPT is generating response, please wait, right? So whatever the latency you want to have your system, you can define that. Then security is also really important, because there might be some malicious users who want to break the system. So definitely we have to enable the IAM module, right? Like login, like maybe we have to register them first and have the identity verified. And then maybe because some people want to break your system, right? So definitely you have to use that limiter as well, right? So that you are able to track down that, okay, from this particular device or user ID, if there are way number of requests are coming, you can limit those requests. Otherwise, system may go down, right? Suppose there is some attack, right, happening, and somebody is trying to send millions of requests to your system of ChatGPT, so it might break a whole system and it may bring it down, right? So we have to also uh, uh, think about their limiting, what are their limiting parameters to define. So that is also a critical aspect. And then scalability. Definitely, now you have to see. I mean, these numbers are just some numbers, right? But that will vary. Suppose in your system of ChatGPT, you want to basically serve the 5 million users per day, and you expect that, okay, at least five conversations or four messages per user, right? So then you can define these numbers, right? So how many messages you expect, and how much storage you expect per day, right? So, I mean, for interview purpose, you would have to reach to some number, right? So that you can define your storage requirement. So now, if the storage is really high, okay, whether you want to go with the traditional storage devices or you want to go with the AWS S3. So those decisions also you can talk about and just see whether what is the most important thing for you, whether you want a cheap storage like S3, or maybe you are okay to have like more costly store in cash as well, right? So those things you have to discuss, right? So now with these things, right, so we are able to cover mostly the requirement from the functional point of view, and also requirement which are the non-functional point of view, right? So these things are now captured. So in interview also you have to capture a requirement like this. And now let's talk about the, suppose we start from the prompt, right? So now user device can be anything, right? It can be mobile, it can be a desktop, right? So definitely there would be some place to write a prompt, right, or to the system, and then we must define a API, right? So I have defined a conversation API. So conversation API basically take the messages from the user, right? So before it hits these messages or questions to ChatGPT service, right, which is the core of this whole system, there should be some checks as well, right? Because they you might have to check the profanity, right? Because might be some user are sending some the abuse words or threat words, right? So those we have to filter them out, because there's no point of loading our core system of ChatGPT with those queries which are definitely malicious or maybe maybe not acceptable, right? So for that we can have a rule engine. So in rule engine is basically all those rules, right? So maybe any these bad words or some logic, right, that we can inbuilt in a rule engine. And also as night we get like more and more these type of words or these sentences we can feed here, right? So that we are able to evolve the system. So whenever any queries coming to ChatGPT via this conversation API. This API is going to check with this profanity service whether this query is clean or not. Okay, and that will check from a rule engine. Rule engine might be any product you can take up, right? We have like IBM tools like, and then we have the Experience Power Curve or FICO Blaze. So any maybe in-house or any off the shelf product can be used as a rule engine to define that. And then also the user behavior, right? So maybe user is focusing to break our system, right? So and maybe what are the inclination of their question, right? So those behaviors maybe we can capture, so that we can profile them, right? So that we're able to provide the good answers or responses for them, or maybe you can filter them out. So okay, so maybe some users are asking same thing multiple times, okay, or maybe they are trying to overwhelm the system or maybe break it down. So we can profile them with this service with their maybe device IDs and their pattern. Okay, and now we have covered the requirement at the high level, the component interaction as well. So now the main crux, right, main core of ChatGPT service is the model, right? So model training is very important, and that's how our system is going to respond to all the queries. So how do we train model at high level? I mean, there are various ways by which we train the model and make it more and more intelligent to be able to generate responses which are liked by users. Let's understand by one way that how we can do that, right? So right, so here, right, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to train our model using the internet web pages, right? So what we are going to do, we have a crawler system that basically kind of a Google search that crawls across the internet web pages. Might not be all, but maybe millions of pages it will crawl and try to see all the web pages and all the hyperlinks within them, right? So maybe you can define the depths, right? So what depths you want to go, because maybe in one hyperlink there might be multiple embedded links are there, right? So you can define, okay, till what level you want to train the model, and then from those and yeah, so now all those web pages which we get from this color search system, we can store in maybe in SDFS file system or maybe in S3. Now from there, what we have to do, we have to process all these web pages in parallel, right? So ultimately, whether we can use Q also, maybe we can also use some other system as well. But here I am using Q so that I can basically process the text and hyperlinks from Q, right, in parallel. So now once we have got the data into the queues, so now we are going to extract the text and hyperlinks from there, right? And then what it does, basically whatever text it is getting from web pages, we tokenize it, right? So for every text, right, so every, maybe suppose for example, if you say mango is a fruit, right, so it is a sentence, right? So for that text, it is going to tokenize maybe by each word, by each sentence. Now once we tokenize these text and hyperlinks, we store them into the vector DB, right? So vector DB is I mean, you can say as a dimensional arrays, right? So that we use it here so that we are able to categorize data into some common categories, right? For example, I have used these three categories here, like system design, fruits, and kids. So for example, we said mango is a fruit, right? So that like more closer to this particular DB, right? So here it will store. So now once we're able to extract all the text, whatever the target web pages we have taken, and we define them in the multiple vector DBs in different categories, right? So now we are ready to basically serve our system. But now problem is that, right? So because you are getting system from the millions of pages, so we cannot just directly serve from there, right? So we have to shard these databases, because if you try to suppose for any query from user, right, if you start searching data or some maybe some context in these vector DB, it's difficult to get details from there, right? So for that, there are multiple strategies which you can define. Maybe you can start databases, whether, or maybe you can do one thing, you can also maybe do indexing, you can do also, and then caching as well, right? So for example, caching can be done at multiple levels. Maybe for user level, suppose user is asking about a particular topic multiple times, so maybe you can have a user cache, and maybe so for some hot topics you can also have a global cache, right? So now what happens, right? Suppose from sorry so suppose from here, right, uh, from main user prompt you get a prompt, okay, that what is architecture, right? So now with this question, right, it will tokenize, right? So first, we will we now first this service will take up this data and tokenize it, right? So tokenize in the sense that it will try to see which vector DB is closest. Okay, in our example, we have defined these three, right? So architecture is more linked with the system design, so it will fall here. So maybe it might be the case that the question might be in such a way that there might be multiple vector DB involved over there in the context, but depending upon those context, now it will able to generate response, right? So we have like inbuilt generators or some kind of a reward mechanism that I will not go further into this video. That once user is, I mean, once right generate response, whether response was correct or not, system get rewards, maybe punishment, right? So those things, by that we define over responses. So but ultimately, uh, what we did, we define a system, right? And we train a model training happened via the vector db and tokenizing our text. Now for every question which user is sending via this prompt, right, we are able to tokenize the question and trying to find that particular vector DBs which is closest to this particular question, and then generate response. So now once generate response is done, we can send back a response to the user as well. So now user can also do the that a thumbs up and thumbs down, right? So whether a response is good for user or not. So maybe they can, once we get a response from them, whether thumbs or thumbs down, we can also refine or maybe train our model in a more better manner, so that next time we're able to provide a better response. Okay, so this is like a small video on the high level design of the chat gpt. Okay, so I might not have covered all the aspect, there are many aspects, okay, but at a high level, from interview point of view, this should be uh, enough, at least at a high level. Okay, yeah, thank you very much for watching my video. Please subscribe my channel as well, and please forward my videos to your friends and your colleagues. Thanks a lot.